I saw two things. One really was a comic strip called The Perishers by Maurice Dodd and Dennis Collins, and the cartoonist was just an incredible lettering artist as well. So the style with which he lettered The Perishers was really attractive and told as much of the story as the story did. You know, and it was a gag strip. It was kind of like Peanuts. It was a group of kids, beautifully illustrated and beautifully lettered. So I started observing why I liked that. You know, and it's one of those things where you're either interested in cameras or you're not interested in cameras. So I started imitating that kind of style. And then Tom Rozakowski was lettering a book called Warlock for Marvel Comics, and he also lettered the Uncanny X-Men for many years, and he had a very clean, tight style and a really particular way of telling a story, because Chris Claremont, who wrote the X-Men at the time, wrote a lot, and you had to fit a lot into a small space, and I could tell he was breaking things up, making it more interesting. So those were the two lettering artists that sort of inspired me and made me think, oh, that's something interesting that I could get involved in. At the time, I didn't think I could be an artist. I didn't think I could be a writer, but that sort of fused the two. So it sort of taught me a lot about art. It taught me a lot about writing at the same time. Comicraft was basically me and one other guy, J.G. Rochelle, who's still with me today. We're celebrating 20 years of Comicraft this year, in November. And he was working with me as an assistant, doing digital lettering. And one day he said, how shall I answer the phone? And I was like, Comicraft. Because a friend of mine, my old roommate, had a carpentry business he called Proudcraft. And I was like, Proudcraft, I like that. Comicraft. So it was literally, how do we answer the phone? Because it was my home phone, and I was working out of a spare room. And JG, you know, came straight out of UCLA as a graphic design student. He loved Todd McFarlane's Spider-Man. He loved the John Romita Spider-Man. So he loved comics enough to think that it was cool to work in comics. But he was a graphic design typography geek. And we sort of dovetailed in that regard. We loved typography as well as comic books. So we were sort of a great fit, and he took it upon himself. I'd made my first font, but you should never make a font of your own lettering style because you'll try to perfect it. And what he did was like, no, you need to keep all the errors in there. I was trying to make it look perfect. And he said, no, I want to preserve your lettering style. So he got the whole vibe of comic books, and I sort of fed him good comic books to read, Sin City, Watchmen, the kind of things that were easy to sort of say, you should read this, but don't worry about everything. I figured rather than just do comic book lettering the rest of my life, I would sell fonts. So and that's what we do. We have a website called comicbookfonts.com. We have almost 300 font families now. We just released a new one yesterday. And you know, we basically just about every comic book on this shelf, somebody is using one of our fonts. When we went to, you know, that Breaking Bad location, I saw my font on this Hooligans bar. That's how much our sort of contribution to pop culture has soaked into the culture. The same font was in Toy Story 2. Other fonts we've created have been on The Simpsons. And you know, it's a weird experience where you're watching a movie that you love and suddenly one of your fonts pops up on screen. So